ever have the chance to kill him.
It is a double-edged sword. It can be a tool used for winning precious things as well as protecting them.
Precious things? Like friendship and love?
For some men, these are the most precious. But I believe that beneath them, there is something even more precious than these.
Is the destiny of mankind controlled by some transcendental entity?
All right. Hi. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me, for coming back. Thank you, and welcome to another gathering of the Salt Circle this Monday. If you're new here, the Salt Circle is where we cultivate a supportive community for modern pagans who are on their healing journey. Of course, you don't have to be pagan or polytheistic, but we're going to lean on that kind of belief system or support system for our spiritual needs. So, anyone's welcome, but that's just kind of the flavor. Traditionally, a salt circle serves not only as a protective barrier, but also as a conduit for gathering and amplifying energy. So that's kind of the premise of what these weekly episodes are. So make sure, you follow, subscribe, comment, and definitely, hang out and share, your perspective, your opinions, or your struggles, your triumphs, because I would definitely love for you to be a part of this, especially if you could benefit, or if you just have gone through something similar. It could really benefit others to have your, takeaways from it. How'd you get through it? What was it like? Because sometimes it's really hard to relate to not just healing, right? But like a broad term that is, I'm healing. I'm working on myself, right? Yeah, who isn't, right? But to really unpack dysfunction or generational trauma or, abuse, or even, going away to a college out of state, and, that could be really traumatic for some people. And that level, or that, situation of trauma is still acceptable. You can still be affected, and everyone, no matter where you are in your healing journey or what you've gone through, I think can benefit from having other people to relate to, having that representation in a way. I don't know if I'm bastardizing that word, but you know what I mean. So we gather here every Monday and Wednesday to harness and amplify energy through practices like, shadow work or dream interpretation, to discuss taboo topics like death, dying, and grief, or, like I said before, unpacking, things that we don't really talk about, like, the abuse from growing up in poverty, or the abuse of, growing up with people who are mentally ill. So if you're coming back to us, welcome back. If you're new, welcome. Please don't forget to subscribe for weekly, discussions and updates and, things like that. So, let's begin. I am your host. I don't know. I'm the goblin. I'm the hermit. I'm that bitch. I'm here. And my name is Daniela. And today's topic is going to, be what we talk about every Monday, which is meeting ourselves authentically in a safe place where we could really meet our inner self, meet that inner child, and then not only locate them, meet them, analyze what it's all about, put everything categorized and labeled and understood from like a third party perspective with no particular interest in the matter. Beyond that, it's also to, walk with that inner child and bring them into the, integrate them with your outward persona. And that can be really difficult, especially if you've gone through, abuse, neglect, dysfunction. It could be really hard to allow yourself to be authentically, or to allow yourself. You're right. It totally is a journey. And most journeys are fucking hard. There's a lot of pit stops. You have to get gas a lot of times. Your car breaks down. There's a lot to traveling, or, even commuting. There's always moving things that can go wrong. And that's no different with like healing. And I don't like to think of it like, oh, what if something goes wrong? But it is a journey. It is hard in some respects. So that's why I really thought, maybe if people who wanted to work on healing, or who wanted to at least meet themselves, we can do that in a place here that's really safe and secure, and there's no judgment, no shame. I'm a product of dysfunction, so I can relate, you can relate to me, and I think that's what brings you here. So let's just get into it, the profound and transformative power of shadow work. And even, if we don't even want to call it shadow work, just meeting yourself and seeing what it is that you need. It can be, like, for example, I don't know what I need half the time. I have no fucking idea. I know I'm bothered. I can't explain to you, categorize, I have a catalog of all my misfortune. It's all, I understand what has happened, but to understand how it's connected to an emotion that's manifesting, that triggered response of your nervous system, that I feel like can really be difficult. So I really wanted to share because I used to try to structure these discussions a lot more. Where I'd have papers and bullet points and shit. Today, I'm just genuinely just want to talk to you guys, and I would love to hear from you as well about what you think, what you're doing to meet and understand yourself. So I had to learn years and years and years ago. I learned from a very, very dear friend. Basically, kind of said to me, I was very upset. I was like, I'm in my 20s, I'm in my late 20s. I have nothing to show for myself in a traditional sense. Everything in my life seems very against the grain. Like it's very abnormal, even though I'm so far away from dysfunction and abuse. Like I've left the childhood home. I'm away from all those peoples. I have my own life, but it still seems like the residue of being brought up in those kind of situations really left its mark on so many other facets of my adult life. And I was talking to my friend. I was just like, dude, it just feels like I'm such an outsider. Everything feels like it's covered in saran wrap, like it's right there, but it's not. Like I cannot touch it. I can't connect with it. I'm separated from everything. And when am I just going to? When is it all just gonna make up for itself? When's it all gonna just fall into place? Because there was a lot of self blame that I had at the time that I didn't even realize I was blaming myself for situations that were out of my control. And I was blaming myself for being a product of situations that were out of my control. And not even getting to that, because, that's something I feel like we all do. Um, but sorry, it's really hot in here. I have to open up the window. I'm wearing like a fucking floor length gown because choices. So, and he said to me, he was basically like, hey, Toasty, that was my nickname for the longest time, Toasty. He's like, Toasty, you have grown up and you have gone through such unorthodox, unusual, irrational situations. And the fact that you've come through it without an addiction, without a child, you know what I mean? Like you've come out of it completely pretty much unscathed, right? For the, when you think about it in like a broad picture. Yeah. And he was saying, like nothing about your life has been normal. Why do you think all of a sudden it's just going to be normal? And that really stuck with me, and it's true. Like if you have grown up in a lot of dysfunction or chaos and your nervous system is geared for that, you might be subconsciously seeking out people or environments or experiences that are familiar, dysfunctional, chaotic, toxic, from your childhood or from whatever developmental or formative period in your life you're stuck in. And I think that also brings people like us, or just people that are going through hardship in general, anything. It makes people like us want closure, right? There's this mystical, magical thing, closure when you get explanations, you get insight, the epiphany, and everything has been revealed. The other person talks to you and makes sense and answers your questions and take accountability and you think that after all the dysfunction and after healing, after like doing what you think is healing or moving away, starting your own life, you think that there's going to come a point where maybe the other person snaps out of it. Maybe we can have a normal relationship. Oh, they texted me, maybe I can respond and not lose my fucking mind. And you kind of think like maybe there will be this point where there will be a definite ending to the dysfunction, to the craziness, to the hurt, to the trauma. And honestly, I hate, Belle, I get you. I get you. I wanted to acknowledge what you said because that is such a real thing. I'm going to circle back to that in a minute. But the idea of closure, I hate it, right? Because it seems like such an augmented reality. It seems like this fantasy illusion that we're all hoping and praying for that is it's not real. It's not going to do anything. Even if you get the closure exactly the way you want it, it's not going to change anything. And it's just to want closure or to hold out for it or to, expect something, the irrational to turn rational. I think that's also a symptom of, being codependent. You want to have that hope. You want the other person to not be a bad person. You want to make yourself available so you don't block their number just in case they ever snap out of it, right? And it really strikes me sometimes when I get upset or down about, my life or certain situations or even how I react, because it's like, yo, nothing was ever normal. And you think all of a sudden it's just going to be normal. And if nothing else, that should just serve as a way to bring yourself back down, from, freaking out or beating yourself up because how are you going to hate yourself? It's not your fault. You are responding as well as you can because, when you don't know what normal is, when you're always in chaos or dysfunction, you're always trying to compensate for the disruption in your home or the delusions that are taking over, reality. And you can't even say anything about it because, everyone wants to just keep the peace and pretend like it's not happening. So not only are you being abused, neglected, and dysregulated physically in real life, but it's also happening in your mind, in your emotions, quietly behind closed doors and everyday little, nonverbal communication and, just when you're a kid too, like your parents or caretakers can really influence your entire environment. So they can really gaslight you and shape your reality to the point where you're doubting your intuition. You think sexual abuse is love, and out of that kind of dysfunction, you can meet yourself, learn about yourself, heal yourself, protect yourself, start your own life and be your own person. But that doesn't automatically just go away. It doesn't, that's the closure so I think that's also bringing me to my next point is that I think it's very important to know that, like, self love and meeting yourself and caring about yourself, it's all practice. It's just like when you have to pick out your clothes every morning. It's the same thing. You have to deliberately pick the intention, right? Um, and it's hard too because we can only react to how our nervous system will allow us. Like our brain might be like, "Oh, I'm freaking out. I'm triggered because whatever." But tell that to your fucking body. Tell that to your armpits that are sweating or your whole body that's shaking. Um, And I don't think that just goes away randomly. I'll be honest, I'm very, very jealous of people who are able to just be almost like not bothered, or it's seeming like they're not bothered, or they're just so well adjusted, whatever the fuck that is. Everyone deals with shit differently. Wherever you are in your journey, you should have like reverence and respect for it. Just as if you were talking to like a friend that you love, you should talk to yourself like you're talking to a friend that you love, like someone outside of, your brain, like your soul, your inner self, your body. Um, and I think when it comes to healing, that's also really hard, is to just not be your own bully, especially when you're growing up and everyone was like your bully, kind of. How are you supposed to not talk like that? You know what I mean? So much of our communication styles are brought onto us in our childhood, and we model ourselves after that most of the time. So we have to really allow ourselves to meet ourselves and not judge ourselves, not be cruel to ourselves. And that again takes a lot of practice. I mean, I talk to myself sometimes and I'm just like, like why am I panicking? Like I'm paying for something and I feel like I'm panicking right now. Why? And I can say like, oh, it's because, you grew up in poverty. So I know rationally I have enough money to pay for it, but panicking because it's a trigger for me. Money and scarcity, it's a huge trigger for me. And as much as I know that, and I can, if someone else said that to me, like, I would be like, oh my gosh, like, I completely empathize, you poor thing. Like, take your time. Do you need to breathe? What can I do? Right? Like, I'd be fucking there to help them. But immediately, it's like I have like all these little gremlins in my head, and like one is just like, hey, I feel this way. And everyone just dog piles and is like, that's so fucking stupid. Like, you need to get over that. Like, what does that even matter? Just fucking like, to calm down. Like, and it's like, yo, why am I so mean to myself? And again, we could psychoanalyze deep frontal lobe probe and all that shit, but to allow yourself to be a safe place for you to do that, I think is a really important first step that a lot of people, including myself, overlook. Because you can dredge out these really painful or really unresolved memories, and if you're not ready to really deal with them, you might just turn to something familiar and destructive, like being mean to yourself, or I need to have a drink. And then you get fucking shit faced. You know what I mean? So to just really like realize and just like sit yourself down and say like, breathe. I'm angry, but I don't want to be mad at myself. That already is so powerful because you're being genuine and honest with yourself. You got to be gentle. You got to meet yourself and create a safe place for your inner self, your inner child to come out and to express what, maybe they need closure from, or what it is that makes you feel like you can't authentically show up. And it can be something as silly as like, oh, I, wet my pants when I was a little kid and now I have social anxiety because of that humiliation. All right, homie, valid. Don't hate yourself for it. Forgive yourself. Like, don't have shame. The same way if, you called CPS on a friend because you were jealous and it ended up getting her baby taken away, and, you feel really fucked up and you never said anything. All right. It happened. Let's work through it. What do you want to talk about it? Do you want to hear something that I did that was fucked up? Be there for yourself. You don't necessarily have to agree with yourself. You don't have to like what you're saying or what you're hearing, but I think it's important you give yourself the same respect that you would give a friend, someone you're in a relationship that you love, anyone, I think, like that. But it's hard to see yourself like that, right? At least it is for me. At least it is for me. And two, we are not the irrational ones for breaking generational cycles and working through, trauma. Like we don't have the same level of delusion and dysfunction that the people who abused us or neglected us did. And just like, we don't have a crystal ball with all the right answers. We don't have some mystical, magical art that is going to tell us exactly what to do, how to feel, the magic trick to immediately self-soothing, right? We don't have anything like that. So, sorry, I keep losing my train of thought because it is really, really hot in here. And I'm melting. Goodness, I had such a good point. What was I gonna say? My bad, my friends. But I would love to hear from you. This might, you know, be a shorter episode just because, see, that's why it is good for me to have maybe not written script, but to have little bullet points. But here we go. I don't know. Ooh. So yeah, you have to create a safe place for yourself. And that's why, I like to start out these episodes with some music that really brings me back into wanting to pay attention. I'm back into my body. My feet are on the ground. I feel myself. I'm feeling, I'm not dissociating. I'm not in la la land. I'm not lost in the brain forest. I'm here. And to breathe. And breathing, helps you not only slow down, but it helps clear your mind. It's good for your muscles. And that's why I like to light candles, because it just breath air so necessary. Candles remind that for me. Wow, I can't believe I really forgot my thought. I'm so sorry, my friends. Well, it's because, Bella, I see that you say it's harder for me to help me than to help others. That is so valid. Where is it because, you grew up having a mother or a father who's always the victim? Or were you, living with people who are narcissists and you didn't have, any autonomy, you didn't have opinions, you didn't have needs? Did you live with, drug addicts, and you had to be dealing with not only people's drug addiction, but other people's enabling? So you had to, you can't bring anything up. You have to make sure everyone else is okay. If you grew up in situations like that, that is a completely, and if that's why you react this way to yourself in your adult life, that correspondence, that, correlation is so understandable. And we have to see ourselves as someone we want to understand. And just by thinking about things and being open and mindful and allowing our brains to wander naturally as we think about, what we want to work through, you'd be really surprised the connections you can make with your own life. Yeah, Belle, I'm so sorry to hear that. I can relate so deeply to that. My father was a drug addict since he was, a preteen, and just his parents, my grandparents, enabled him to the point where they died enabling him. For nothing. They were so far into their enabling, and my father was so far into his addiction. It was always doomed. It was so bad. And I lived with them for a lot of years when I was a little kid. And I thought, you want to talk about normal? Dude, because, this was in the 90s and the early 2000s. So way before cell phones, we had house phones that were connected to the wall, that you couldn't, that were not wireless phones. The batteries, yeah, it's going to run out in a half hour. Get the fuck out of here. You remember that? I just knew growing up in that house, you can't call 911. And I always thought, I was like, oh, because that's for adults. Kids aren't supposed to call 911 because, prank calling or, that's just how I rationalized it. No matter what, somehow it's going to be my fault. I'm a kid. So it's to safeguard against me and my chaos, my antics, because my grandparents were older. They were the ones primarily taking care of me since my father was literally a deadbeat, even though he lived there. He didn't have a driver's license. He didn't have a car. He never did. He never had to. My grandparents gave him money, drove him around, cleaned up after him into his 50s. It was insane. And they really, and this predates me. This is from when my dad was a little kid. This was, 20 years before I was alive. But, all of the things that my father would do and all of the relatives that would not want to deal with it, or all of the times grandma would like lose her fucking mind and just want him out of the house. Whatever the situation was, and again, it's not my fault, but I didn't understand it to be, anything past whatever I as a child could rationalize. And again, like they wouldn't even acknowledge that he was an addict. They would just say, your father's sick. Your father's a sick man. But they would never say, no, they would never ever say it. So yeah, my grandfather would like disconnect the phones at night. And in the daytime, you'd always have the house phone receiver, like one of them, like in his pocket, because he always sat in the kitchen. So like he could always like charge it really quick. But like if he ever left to like go to the bathroom, he'd always take the phone with him. And yeah, I just, when cell phones did become a thing and I was put on my grandfather's phone plan on Verizon, I think because I was a child, I was like a minor, there was like these child locks on cell phones. So you could block numbers, or have like, if I called 911, my grandfather as the guardian would get a notification that the minor called 911. They called emergency services, right? And it's not because my grandpa cared about me, right? It's because he cared about his son so much. He wanted to make sure no one would call the cops on him and get him arrested. And even if he did get arrested for anything, my grandfather would immediately bail him out. No questions asked. And I remember I was maybe in my mid-20s. I must have been like 25. No, I must have been 26 or 27. And something happened. There was like something in the road in the middle of the night, and it was like, it wasn't like a back road. So I thought, I was like, if someone hits this, they're gonna really fucking die. So I thought, I was like, what can I do? And then I thought, I was like, wait, can I call the local police station? And I literally had to pull my car over and think about it. I was just like, I've been off of my grandfather's plan for like 12, 13 years at this point. No, wait, I don't even know. But I've had my own phone plan for years. I've been on my own, living on my own for years. Grandma and grandpa, like, I'm not really whatever. And it really dawned on me. I was like, can I just call 911? And I did. And it went through. And it was such a shock. I was just like, holy shit. And the cognitive dissonance, because I was like, I've never done anything to prevent or allow a 911 call on a phone plan. I was like, the normal, so yeah, dude. I was born in 1992 too. Girl, I feel you. Insane. Insane. And then something happened last year where someone was like trying to break into my house in the middle of the night. And it did not even cross my mind to call 911. I just, again, when you're not brought up in normalcy, you're never just gonna just bloop, you're normal. So you have to give yourself grace and room, and especially when you're unmasking or healing or learning about yourself, to really be authentic and genuine. You're gonna be fucking weird. You're gonna be a fucking awkward lunatic probably, because you have a chance now. You have that chance to express and do it safely. So I literally, someone was breaking into my house. I got out of fucking bed to confront this fucker. I was literally like, I went psycho mode. I was just like, you try to break into my house? Like, come on. I could use the free therapy. Like, let's do it. And I started screaming, but like, I didn't like have my glasses. So I was just like, I'm going to find a fucking bat. The dogs were like all barking, and the person just left. And it wasn't until like the next morning that when I told someone, they're just like, that's horrifying. Why wouldn't you call 911? I'm like, I could have. I really had no excuse. And I felt really like shitty about myself. I felt really inadequate. I felt like an invalid. I felt like a bad human because I wasn't normal. I wasn't like everyone else who just knows to call 911. Right, right. I'm being so mean to myself all day. I'm just like, I could have died. Like, I could have really got, what if they shot me through the door? Like, who knows what could have happened? And, also feeling embarrassed that like I told someone the truth and they looked at me just like not like to congratulate me or, praise me, almost like what I thought they were going to be like, oh, wow, you're so brave, or oh, yeah, that a girl. And for them to just kind of be like horrified and like mystified that that was my honest, genuine reaction was like full on, like, I'm always in fight or flight. I'm ready to fucking fight, bitch, you know? Um, and I just felt so bad about it all day, protecting myself. And again, it takes practice to be nice with yourself and to show up for yourself and be like, I totally get why you did that. Let's, think about it, unpack it, talk about it, and then try not to do that again. At least if we talk about it a little, we'll be less likely to just impulsively assault the would-be assaulter, right? Insane. I know it. I'm insane. It's fine. We allow ourselves to be. We're not going to beat ourselves up for it. We're just going to authentically lose our minds and have fun and whimsy while we do it and express ourselves as genuinely as possible, because for far too long we have not, either for our own safety, fear from parents, whatever. Like, we have to allow ourselves to be able to come out. Our inner child really needs to feel safe, and we have, the ability and the resources to do that for ourselves. Um, you know, meeting my inner child and stuff, she's so fucking angry. She's like a chihuahua in a Gundam suit, I swear. But she's adorable. She's cute. I feel like I've locked my inner child in a closet, and every once in a while I just hear her at the door just scratching, just like, bitch, let's fucking cut him. Come on. And I'm like, oh no, not you. We're not letting you out just yet. We'll let all the other inner bullshit. I had a very interesting dream about my subconscious, which I want to tell you guys about. What is that? Oh, it's a little fly. I thought it was a little spider. I found the teeniest, tiniest, littlest jumping spider. So cute. I put him on my plant. And I think too, like, even if we meet ourselves, we're doing all the work, we're doing the shadow work, learning the shadow psychology, whatever, understanding that there is no normalcy, there is no closure, give ourselves space, give ourselves a break, cut ourselves some slack. There's still going to be shit that comes up that it's just going to test everything. And you're going to be like, fuck it. Like, for example, I'm like pretty no contact with my mother, right? Except that I'm codependent. I'm a people pleaser. So I don't block the bitch. We don't have a relationship because, like many people, I want a relationship with my mother because I'm fucking insane. It's just not possible. Again, like, I just want her one day to just be like, I'm so sorry, right? Especially because the last time her and I spoke, 3 months ago, after being no contact for about 3 years, only reason she reached out to me before was because her Yorkie was dying. She cares a lot about her dog. Fuck the child, me. She doesn't care about it. And all right, whatever. So I confronted my mother over text message because she was very nosy and curious about my cousin's wedding. And she like wants to know, like, again, been no contact for years. And she messages me just like, who was at the wedding? It's just like, bitch, like, we're not like, oh my God. Just so narcissistic, so nosy, just so fucking nosy. Did anyone ask about me? Why? You were invited. That's your godson, Maria. Like, I don't know. And I asked her, I was like, hey, like, so all this stuff has, happened to me when I was a little kid that you're aware of. I just kind of want to get like your perspective on it. So like I can fill in the blanks and like, get your side of the story and like not hate you as much. And she literally messaged me back. She's just like, Daniela, that happened so long ago. Like, you need to get over it. You want to be angry. You want to hold on to these things. Things happen to me. Look at me. I've let them go. And I'm just like, I don't know what I was thinking. Because she's not capable. She's such a narcissist. She's not capable of, having a conversation. We're never in the same conversation ever, right? And so she basically said to me, she's like, well, I was a mistake reaching out to you. And I'm just like, yeah, I guess it fucking was. Like, don't fucking talk to me. Like, I'm coming to you as a 31-year-old, like asking you to help me give you more of a break in terms of you fucking abandoning me, more or less. And then today, again, I get a text message out of fucking nowhere saying that at the moment, unfortunately, things are going wrong for me. Dolly was diagnosed with congenital heart failure and liver dysplasia, so most likely she will have a few weeks or days to live. I am heartbroken. I lost Teddy and Bullet, her other dogs. These are her dogs. She lost the two other ones, and then she adopted Dolly, and now this. I can never catch a break. I'm sick to my stomach. And I was just like, sorry to hear about Dolly. I know how much she means to you. That was all I could squeak out. Because it's true. I was just like, she's not ever going to just be rational. She's never just going to snap out of it. You know what I mean? And even if she did, is that just going to absolve me of my feelings? Probably fucking not. I'm a Scorpio. Maybe I do like to hold grudges. I don't know. And then she asks me a few hours later, do you think you could come and stay with me for a few days? I would buy you plane tickets both ways. My mom I can't deal with this. It's just too much, and I'm afraid to be alone after she passes. She's doing bad. Medicine doctor made her worse. She's hardly eating and refused to go for walks. Put the fucking dog down. Like, that sounds, you're avoiding the inevitable. Like, this poor dog. I know you have to work, but if you could at least take 10 days, I would feel much better. I figured I'd ask you. I know. I know I am batshit fucking crazy when it comes to my emotions. I know that I can't articulate my emotions that well. I have explosive and volatile emotions. I enjoy confrontation and I enjoy fucking making I don't even know. That shit is not normal. I know that. I can recognize that this whole interaction, not just from today, but the last, 3 months, but I still feel bad. I feel bad for her. I won't lie. I really do. I don't think I feel bad enough to take 10 days off of work to fly out and be her dog's death doula, especially when I broke my spine in 2 places and she didn't want to visit me because she was living with her husband and he bought them tickets to go tour the Grand Canyon and like, okay, I'm sorry. I'm just paralyzed in a bed for 6 fucking months, but fine. I get it. Steven doesn't like me. For all the other multitude of things that she shirked for her own selfishness or her own, impulse. Like this, I don't even know what to say to her. And I feel bad for not saying anything. And I know that's a symptom of, my codependency. I know I'm triggered by this. Like, and I know also that however I feel, I'm just going to let myself feel it. I'm not going to stifle back tears. I'm not going to say, I'm not angry and pretend like everything's fine and not talk about it to, my partner, my friends, anyone that asks. And it might even be a really good idea to reach out to someone who can hold space for me and be like, hey, guess what Maria fucking did? And I'm honestly going to text my cousin because she knows and she can validate that I'm not crazy. And I validate to you that if you get a Maria-esque message like that, that is selfish. It is narcissistic. That is not a parent lovingly asking you to come visit. And me feeling all the ways that I feel about it are completely, they're not even triggers. That is a completely normal way to respond to something like that with all the context that there is. And even though I feel guilty, even though, a part of my really angry self feels really bad for Maria, and I wish I could have a surface level relationship with her and I could just pretend like everything's fine and cool and just stuff it down. I can't. I try to stuff things down and sweep shit under the rug all the time. I cannot, especially while I'm healing and I'm aware that I'm healing and I want to heal. I will always make it a priority to have a safe place to express authentically. It's almost the same as when our nervous system reacts. We start sweating, we get stinky armpits, hands start sweating, we can't think straight, our mouth dries up. All this stuff happens as physical reactions. Our emotional reactions, we have to also let come and go. That's not to say break everything in your fucking house, like drive drunk, go fucking nuts, get a divorce, rah! No. But if you're sad, fucking cry. If you're angry, do 20 squats. Like, express these emotions. And there's a lot of things we can do, somatic exercises or whatever the fuck you want to call them, that will really help us not only ground ourselves, but calm ourselves down, allow us to open up, and whatever we're feeling, have it show up in a place where it won't be judged, and then it can get it all out. And we will still be safe. I'm definitely trying to do that, especially as I work with things with my mother and, all the complex things that I feel about it and how I still feel bad for her and I'm codependent, and it's a struggle. It's a journey. And it's nice to be nice to yourself while you're on this journey. Be a good companion. You're not going to come out to yourself if you are deep down afraid of yourself, afraid how you're going to react, afraid that you're going to disown yourself if someone sees. Sometimes it's good to just be ugly. If you feel bad, take a bunch of face paint or makeup and just draw a fucking monster face. Just draw all over your face and then take a really nice shower. Clean up and feel yourself, love yourself. I'm here. It's safe. It's okay. And, I don't know. I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take a really nice hot shower and try to relax because the journey is sometimes cruel and unyielding, but we're on it with ourselves. So let's be nice with ourselves. Be nice to ourselves, especially because the people we needed the most to do that didn't do it. So it's really important to show up for yourself to do that. And, as much as I love chatting with you, I feel so disgustingly sweaty, my friends. I'm so sorry. I really did enjoy speaking with you guys today about, shadow work and meeting your inner child and, things like that. I apologize that this video is a little all over the place. It's been a weird day for me. Good day, but definitely weird. Sweaty, sweaty, sweaty. But I definitely want to put a new playlist about dream interpretation and then include that with, some shadow work or mindful self-reflection analysis at the end. I think that'd be really interesting. Sorry, there's a hair going up my nose. So definitely check back for that. That might be a project coming in the next couple of weeks. But either way, I really enjoyed speaking with you. I really enjoyed having you, Belle, incredible to have you. Were the first person I've ever like actually talked with during, a live session. So I really appreciate that, you were courageous and you shared your experiences, and you made, I think, a very substantial and impactful video with me. So I just wanted to say thank you. I hope you have a good evening, just as everyone else does. I really hope, if nothing else, this was just about an hour where we could hear some nice things about ourselves, think about some nice things, and then we could go back to our violent video games and cold case murder podcasts and whatever the fuck else we got to do. But, thank you for joining us today, everyone. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. Until next time, keep taking care and keep exploring the depths within. Right?